On this episode of AV Week, we have a conversation with my buddy and pal, Tom Leblanc, who is back in the AV industry. Also talking about the products and technology coming out of CES that's going to make its way into the commercial world and what trade shows you need to look at. All that and more next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 438, recorded Friday, December 10th, 2020. Clever Code.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Kramer, AV Beyond the Box, and by Christie Digital, and by Biam.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. Before, though, we start talking about the news and information of the week, we have a very special interview. A very old friend of mine, Mr. Tom LeBlanc, recently left the AV industry. He stepped down from being Commercial Integrator's editor-in-chief that he started back in 2011, stepped down over the summer, went and did something else completely different from the AV industry, but now he is back. Tom is the new and the first ever Director of Industry Outreach and Media Channels, and Mr. Tom LeBlanc joins us today to talk about that. Welcome, sir.
Thanks, Tim. It's good to be here again.
Good to see you. Good to see you. So not for nothing, Tom, first of all, he's been writing about and involved in the AV industry for darn near 20 years. I started a Commercial Integrator 9 years ago now, actually. And back in the summer, you stepped away for a bit, went and did something else, but now you're back in the AV industry as the first ever NSCA Director of Industry Outreach and Media Channels. So very simplistic question to start off here. Tom, what are you hoping to do and accomplish at NSCA?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a simple question, but I'm not going to give you a simple answer because there's a lot to say here. So when I was at Commercial Integrator, one of the great relationships that I had was with NSCA. And I always really liked that, NSCA was very focused on sort of the business end of the industry because that was kind of the part that I liked to write about. So that's why I ended up writing a lot of stuff that, leaned on expertise from NSCA. So like you said, I left the industry and I thought I wanted to do something else. And I very quickly realized that I didn't. At least I didn't like the thing I was doing.
Okay.
And it kind of led to me thinking, okay, well, what do I like to do? What's my problem? What do I like to do? And it kind of brought me back to that, kind of core feeling that I had at Commercial Integrator, which was, when I would write a certain type of article or when I would work on a certain type of presentation, there was a connection to NSCA because NSCA was often doing similar things. So I like working on stuff that's about helping companies to, run their businesses better or give them advice about how to protect their business or give them advice about hiring and diversifying their business. I love that stuff. And, kind of thinking along those lines led me to be like, okay, well, I don't like my job, and I started thinking, hey, I used to talk to Chuck every now and again about the possibility of someday working together. I wonder if he still wants to do that. And, we started to have some conversations. And, when you work for a nonprofit organization, you can't just pull the trigger and hire somebody. It's a big process. The board has to kind of understand what we're trying to do and decide if it's something that they want to do as well. So there was a little bit of a process there. And, it for me, very luckily, worked out well. And I'm back in the industry and really, really excited to be working with NSCA.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that you have as an advantage as somebody coming in, this is not NSCA hiring somebody just kind of off the street. And what behind the years, you personally, but also obviously Commercial Integrator, the last 5 or 6 years have been heavily involved with NSCA with their Business Leadership Conference, BLC, that happens every February or March, somewhere in the first quarter. You've worked with Chuck when it comes to some of the industry surveys that Commercial Integrator and NSCA has kind of created and crafted together. So you have a deep working knowledge, I would say, of the organization and a lot of their members.
Yeah, I probably do have a little bit of an advantage in that regard, having worked pretty closely with NSCA over the years. But also, I mean, the bigger advantage that I have is I'm joining a really good team. A team that does really solid stuff. A big part of my role at NSCA is going to be working to create more and to amplify content about the stuff that NSCA and NSCA members are doing. But we already have a team that does a great job creating content, so it's easy for me to kind of slide in there and you know work with some strategies and try to amplify it here and there. But yeah, the familiarity is going to help, but also I think joining a great team helps. And I knew that that was one of the reasons why it was really appealing for me to come on board.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, sir. Well, I will let you get. This is actually your first week and your first Friday, so you have some meetings to get to as well. As always, first of all, again, congratulations and good to have you back. How do people get a hold of you now, or NSCA if they are so inclined?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm still at the same Twitter account, so that's at LeBlanc Tom on Twitter, and you can also reach out to me at my NSCA account at tleblanc at nsca.org. And I'm really happy to be connecting with you again, Tim, and to be connecting with folks in the industry. I'm happy to be back.
All right, and continuing the conversation and talking about the rest of the news of the week. First and foremost, my buddy in pound, Mr. Brad Grimes. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Also with me, actually two newbies, so Brad, be nice to them. First of all, Jason Ward, a buddy from the UK over at Involve. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me. AVNation, living the dream. My life's complete now.
His own podcast, folks. You should go check it out because it's fantastic. Especially if you want to, it's a little bit like soccer hooligans, only if there's AV involved as well. And also Ariel Marcus. Ariel is from M4 Solutions out of Israel. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's kick this off here, guys. CES. We're recording this on Friday, January 10th. CES, the Consumer Electronics Show put on by the CTA, just wrapped up here, and a lot of stuff has come out of there. One of the things that has kind of blossomed over the last couple of years is the Smart Home Pavilion. Typically, that's taken place over in the Sands. Folks like Z-Wave Alliance and Google and Amazon have all had presences there. But Brad, I'm going to start with you on this. As somebody who, Brad, not only has worked for a Vixen in the past, but also you were an editor for an AV magazine as well. At your point of view, as you watch shows like CES and a little bit of CEDIA back in the fall, what do you guys think? And Brad, you first here. What do you see coming out of CES and the technologies coming out of CES that'll eventually start hitting some of the commercial integrators?
Well, I think a lot of the technology you see out of CES is fodder for great ideas. I mean, really, clearly a lot of consumer electronics come out of there, stuff that you're going to buy and you and I are going to buy in our homes or we're going to buy wherever else. But it's also a place where you go and you get ideas. I mean, I'm really intrigued by artificial intelligence. We can talk about it a lot. It's a big part of consumer electronics these days. I do think it has a place in commercial AV and lots of other technology applications. Virtual reality, augmented reality, a lot of these things that sort of you get a taste of at CES. You get a lot of people piloting new ideas, and a lot of these things are already making their way into what we would call commercial applications. I mean, I've been working with a big technology company that is seeing a lot of action, for instance, with VR in healthcare. Healthcare is a place where the AV industry has a lot to offer. VR is more than just an AV application, but it gives people who are in commercial AV or any other technology integration field ideas. And how can we apply some of this great technology? How can we apply artificial intelligence to applications? And then we just need to go find the use case. And then it's going to be down the line. It's not going to be right away. It's going to take some time for ideas to bubble up and find an application in the real world.
Yeah. Jason, Brad mentioned a couple of things here. One of them that has come down the pipeline is voice. I know a number of years ago, Harman started working with IBM and Watson to kind of do their own voice control Crestron and Control 4 have integrations with Amazon Alexa and Amazon the Echo ecosystem. So as you're watching shows like CES, what are you guys looking at? What are you seeing specifically that you think is going to come down into the commercial world?
I kind of agree with what Brad's saying about the AI. I wonder where the lines are drawn between AI and just clever code. But I do see that that's a sort of big part of what we're doing. Watching the show from afar, I love David Danto's 5G cynicism. And he sort of bangs that drum big, loud and hard. But I do think in our world, and Brad's already mentioned healthcare applications, I see really strong healthcare applications as you take healthcare into the field in a B2C environment. You truly are in sort of a mobile application world, because you don't need to look for a network in order to get a quick video call, for example, or network access, in order to deliver great results. So that's going to happen. Me poking fun like David is autonomous vehicles, the new AV, because I saw a lot of cars coming on my social media feed. And then more generally speaking, these products are bleeding into our environments. You're not going to escape it. You've just got to embrace it. Deal with it or embrace it.
Yeah. Ariel, what you wrap up on this one? We have seen a flip where 20 years ago, maybe probably 20 years ago, the pro environment is what was pushing into commercial, right? You would see a giant projector here at Infocom 20 years ago, and then a year or two later, you'd see the same type of projection system at CES and at CEDIA. Now that's kind of flipped. So what are we seeing in the commercial world that's pushing its way into the commercial?
On my opinion, most of the application that we will see that will be adopted, is part of it is the augmented reality. We're seeing a lot of those on the different platforms that provide different solutions in an easy way to implement. So augmented reality, I think that's the next thing that we will see.
All right, very good. All three of you had said augmented reality, so we'll see where we go with that. Thank you so much for watching the first episode of this week's AV Week. To see the entire episode, click on the link below or go by the website AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. We're going to talk about the trade shows you need to go to, as well as the new technology of higher education. All that and more at AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv.